Well, last week we had a 12,000 acre forest fire 5 miles from here. And today we have snow. So that's quite a change, but I'm happy for the water. Got to get more water um, for this summer, so we're going to have more fires. So I wanted to make a video today, basically a recap of my last video about forgiveness. And I wanted to talk about an important part to forgiveness, and that is to forget. You know, um, we're all familiar with, well, many of us are familiar with the parable of the lender and the debtor that Jesus gave in the Bible, and to forgive is to forget. Actually, forgiveness comes from Latin, and the reason why Jesus used the parable of the lender is because it was most commonly used with people who had debts and that couldn't pay them. And if a debtor would forgive them of that debt, that was seen as a very, very charitable, very kind, merciful thing to do. However, that did not prevent the lender from um, seeking it sometime down the road, repayment on that debt. So a more rare occurrence and an extreme act of mercy was called forgiveness. And when this was recorded by the scribes in the records, to forget term means literally to forfeit all future attempts to reclaim that debt. That means they give up all their rights to come back and try to get payment in the future at some point. So it's really important that we remember that forgetting does in the term that it was used here was not intended to mean that your brain you could cut it out of your memory. Um, Obviously, our brains do not remember things that we wish we really could, like our phone number or some important date or appointment, you know. And then it wants to remember things that we would desperately like to forget. So our brain is actually really unreliable, in that sense. So that's doesn't make sense that we can literally erase it from our memories, and that's not what it was as the parable uh, went. It was the way it was intended. So, in some cultures, we tend to believe that we honor those who have died by remembering them, and so that kind of becomes a part of our tradition. However, it can become detrimental in our healing, in our growth, if we hang on to it too long. And one example is a friend of mine who is a veteran. I'm a veteran and a war veteran, and they're a war veteran, and so yes, I know other war veterans, and so he is horribly tormented by the deaths of his comrades, and he relives that every single day, and he tortures himself with it every single day, and I asked him one day, I said, what do you think your friends would say to you today if they could speak to you? He says, well, I don't know. He says, well, I think they would say, would you please stop killing us every day and let us have peace, and he just really kind of sat back and thought about that. It's like, but it's very common among people and veterans, and they have survivor guilt, and that's one of the symptoms of PTSD. I am not diagnosed with PTSD, so I can't say that I understand the suffering that he went through, But from a spiritual sense, I always try to look at it from a spiritual angle, because everything in the physical world has a spiritual counterpart, and we have to recognize that. We can't ignore that part. But the media tends to like to make us relive traumas over and over again. Certain um, disasters, by commemorating them. The dates that they happen, and the victims of those disasters. And what it does is it puts us in a perpetual, as a society, a perpetual state of woundedness. And my goal with these videos and the way I live my life is to try to bring healing. And if you keep pulling the scab off a wound, when it's trying to heal, it's never going to heal. So that's my hope is that we can just like stop um, being the trauma, be the message, not the mess, and stop reliving it. And at some point, we just have to let that stuff go. We have to learn to forgive and move on. We've all made choices in our life that we're probably not happy about, and other people do it too. We have to give them that permission to make mistakes. If we are here, if you have come here to this planet, you did not come here on vacation. You came here to learn, to make mistakes, to learn from them, to learn to forgive, and to help others. And that's the whole purpose of you know being here, is to learn, to learn. But if we always are staying in the trauma, always staying in the wound, always being the victim, we're not learning. We're de-evolving. We're not evolving. We're de-evolving, and that's the reverse, of the natural life um, and spiritual growth. That's my message today, is to just remind the people that we need to learn to forgive, get the poison out of our hearts, and give everybody a break. People make mistakes. Some of them are fatal mistakes. Some of them, are injurious to society. Some of them just injurious to family or self. But in all, we're all one family. We're all one community, common unity. And let's put the unity back in that. Common unity, and give everybody a break. We make mistakes, and that's what we're here to learn from. And we have free will. We have free will, and sometimes we don't always use it correctly. But that's part of the personal responsibility, and that self-ownership, self agency that we need to claim, in order um, to get out of this cycle. So that's my message for today, and I hope somebody gets something out of it. And it's just a process. It's not a race. It's a process. So thanks.